Application to business. Leif Babin. I've got an immediate fire that's causing us a big issue, and I need some help with this, said the voicemail. Please give me a call as soon as you can. The voicemail was from Gary, a mid-level manager in the operations department of a corporation with which Jocko and I had worked through our company Echelon Front. We developed a 12-month leadership program for the corporation. Every few weeks, we traveled to their corporate headquarters for training with a class of a dozen mid-level managers from various departments. In addition to the classroom sessions, we provided coaching and mentorship to help our course participants apply what they learned in class to their everyday leadership challenges. Jocko and I had spoken to Gary by phone several times over the past few months and helped him solve some minor leadership dilemmas and build a more effective team. He was a hard worker, dedicated to his job and his team, and he was eager to learn. It was rewarding to watch him grow as a leader over the months of our course. As a result, he had much greater confidence in himself to make the decisions that would help his team more effectively execute their mission. Now he had a major issue, a serious leadership challenge that was pressing. I was eager to help. I gave him a call to find out what had happened and what I could do. "How you doing, Gary?" I asked when he picked up the phone. "Not too good," Gary responded. "We just had a major issue on one of our critical projects." "What happened?" I asked. I couldn't hope to match Gary's expertise in this industry, but I could help him solve his leadership challenges, improve communication, and run a more effective team. "Our drilling superintendent made a call on his own to swap out a critical piece of equipment," said Gary. "He totally violated our standard operating procedures. I have told him before how I wanted this done, and he completely blew me off." Gary was angry. Obviously, Gary's ego had been bruised by the fact that the drilling superintendent hadn't cleared the decision through him. "This is something he knew he should have run through me," Gary continued, "and he blatantly did not. He made the wrong call, and that set our completion date back several days, costing our company serious capital. In this industry, each day lost on the project could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars." "Tell me about your superintendent," I said. "Why do you think he would do that?" "No idea," said Gary. "He knows he has to run that call through me. But he's been in this business way longer than I have, and he's got a ton of experience. Sometimes he looks at me and his face says, 'What the hell do you know?' I'm sure he thinks he knows better than me." "Perhaps he was just pushing the envelope to see what he could get away with," I replied. "Which can escalate if you let it go." "That's part of the problem. I'm worried about how he will respond to my critique," said Gary. "With years of knowledge and experience, he is a critical member of this team. We can't afford to lose him. If I call him out, he is going to blow up at me, and the friction between us is likely to get even worse than it already is. And you know the climate in this industry. With his experience, he can find another job tomorrow if he wants to." "That means you will have to check your ego in order to have a constructive discussion with him and get this under control," I responded. "Let's think this through," I continued. "Do you think he deliberately tried to shut down drilling operations and cost the company money?" "No," admitted Gary. "I'm sure he thought he was doing what was best for the immediate situation as it presented itself." "At the tactical level, on the front lines where the guys in the field execute the mission," I said, "it is critical that the troops grasp how what they do connects to the bigger picture. Your superintendent may not have really understood how his failure to follow procedure and get approval for these changes would result in hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. Do you think that is possible?" "Definitely. He has exceptional hands-on knowledge of drilling, but he doesn't really deal with the big picture," Gary replied. His anger subsided and his bruised ego diminished as he realized the superintendent had probably not been willfully insubordinate. He now began to understand the reasons the superintendent made the decisions he did. As a leader, it is up to you to explain the bigger picture to him and to all your frontline leaders. That is a critical component of leadership, I replied. But Gary was still concerned about how to deal with his drilling superintendent and the superintendent's ego. "How can I communicate this to him without ruffling his feathers and getting him all pissed off at me?" asked Gary. "If I confront him about this, our communication will get even worse than it already is." "That is another critical component of leadership," I quickly replied. "Dealing with people's egos. And you can do so by using one of the main principles we taught you during our course, extreme ownership." Gary responded, "Ownership of what? He's the one that screwed this up, not me. It was clear Gary's ego was getting in the way of the solution to this problem. Ownership of everything, I answered. This isn't his fault, it's yours. You're in charge, so the fact that he didn't follow procedure is your fault. And you have to believe that, because it's true. When you talk to him, you need to start the conversation like this. Our team made a mistake, and it's my fault. It's my fault because I obviously wasn't as clear as I should have been in explaining why we have these procedures in place and how not following them can cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're an extremely skilled and knowledgeable superintendent. You know more about this business than I ever will. It was up to me to make sure you know the parameters we have to work within and why some decisions have got to be run through me. Now, I need to fix this so it doesn't happen again. Do you think that will work? Asked Gary, sounding unconvinced. I'm confident it will, I replied. If you approached it as he did something wrong, and he needs to fix something, and he is at fault, it becomes a clash of egos, and you two will be at odds. That's human nature. But if you put your own ego in check, meaning you take the blame, that will allow him to actually see the problem without his vision clouded by ego. Then you both can make sure that your team's standard operating procedures, when to communicate, what is and isn't within his decision-making authority, are clearly understood. I wouldn't have thought to take that tact, Gary admitted. It's counterintuitive, I said. It's natural for anyone in a leadership position to blame subordinate leaders and direct reports when something goes wrong. Our egos don't like to take blame, but it's on us as leaders to see where we fail to communicate effectively and help our troops clearly understand what their roles and responsibilities are and how their actions impact the bigger strategic picture. Remember, it's not about you, I continued. It's not about the drilling superintendent. It's about the mission and how best to accomplish it. With that attitude exemplified in you and your key leaders, your team will dominate.